Ever walked down a bustling city street in ancient Rome? Ancient Rome was a lot like that, a massive, multicultural metropolis. But there was a dark side to its a huge portion of its ancient population wasn't there by choice. They were slaves, and their stories are a critical, often overlooked, part of Roman history. How did so many people end up in bondage? And what was their life actually like? Let's dive into the massive and brutal engine that was the Roman slave trade. In the early days of the Roman Republic, slavery was a smaller scale affair. Most slaves were Italians captured in local wars. But as Rome's legions conquered the Mediterranean, everything changed. We're talking about massive numbers. After a successful campaign, a general might bring back tens of thousands of captives. The historian Livy tells us that after the Third Macedonian War, 150,000 people from Epirus were enslaved in a single stroke. Imagine that the entire population of a modern town sold into slavery. These captives were spoils of war, treated like property. They were marched in chains back to Rome, often paraded through the streets in a general's triumph or spectacle to show off Roman power. Then, they were taken to slave markets. The island of Delos in the Aegean Sea became one of the biggest slave trading hubs in the ancient world. It was said that 10,000 slaves could be bought and sold there in a single day. At these markets, people were stripped, inspected like animals, and made to wear signs detailing their skills, origin, and health. A strong young man fit for farm labor would fetch a different price than an educated Greek who could be a tutor or a musician from Syria. It was a cold, calculated business, but war wasn't the only source. Piracy was rampant. Pirates would raid coastal towns and snatch people from ships, selling them to slave traders. Another tragic source was children. People in extreme poverty might sell their own children into slavery just to survive. And, of course, children born to enslaved mothers automatically became slaves themselves, owned by their mother's master. This created a self-sustaining system of hereditary slavery. Once sold, a slave's life was entirely at the mercy of their owner. The experiences varied dramatically. Some, particularly those in rural settings like the massive farms or deep in the mines, faced hell on earth. They worked from sunrise to sunset under brutal conditions, poorly fed, and housed in squalor. Their life expectancy was shockingly low. The sheer exhaustion and abuse were constant. Into cities, life could be different, though still without freedom. Domestic slaves worked in the households of the wealthy. They were cooks, cleaners, hairdressers, and personal attendants. While they might have better food and shelter, they had no privacy and were constantly under the watchful eye of their masters. Abuse was still common. An educated slave, like a Greek doctor or teacher, might live in relative comfort and even gain the respect of the family. They were valuable assets, and some were treated as such. There were also slaves who worked in businesses, managing shops or workshops for their owners. Some were even allowed to earn their own money, a small pocket of which they could keep. This was called a peculium. Was there any hope? The possibility of manumission, or being freed, existed. A slave could be freed in their owner's will as a reward for loyal service. Others, using that peculium I mentioned, could save up over years and buy their own freedom. This was a powerful motivator, encouraging slaves to work hard and be obedient. Once freed, they became freedmen or freedwomen. They gained Roman citizenship but still faced social stigma and had certain obligations to their former masters. Still, their children would be born as free Roman citizens with full rights. It was a path to social mobility, however difficult. The sheer scale of slavery had a profound impact on Roman society. It powered their economy, built their monuments, and ran their households. But it was a system built on unimaginable human suffering. It reminds us that behind the magnificent ruins and epic stories of emperors and generals, there are millions of silent, forgotten voices. Their forced labor was the foundation upon which much of the Roman world was built. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this glimpse into ancient Rome interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more hidden histories. See you next time.